Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Corner HVAC. I am glad you joined me today. I've got a quick little how-to video to do here. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to all the current subscribers out there. I appreciate all the shares, the likes, the comments that I see. I've talked to a lot of really cool people out there from all over the place. So I do appreciate that. If you're not subscribed, it's all right. It's not too late. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button when you get all done. Go ahead and give it a big thumbs up if you like the video and share with a friend. It's just the right thing to do. So as far as today, I want to show you how to remove a fan blade. This is just a random junk fan blade that I've got. But most of your air conditioners and things like that, which this kind of thing works for any kind of fan blade. Doesn't matter if it's on a cooler, an air conditioner, or whatever. But we do have to take these off once in a while. But there are a couple of things that you need to do it right. To make sure you don't make your job harder than it really has to be. First off, the shaft of the motor. Now, obviously, this is just a cut-off piece of shaft. It's not an entire motor shaft, but it is the end of a shaft. And you can see how that thing gets rusty and dusty and dirty and all kinds of things like that. You want to make sure that is all gone. You know, when that fan blade's sticking out of there, or sticking up, you're usually going to have a little bit of shaft sticking out of it. I mean, sometimes they're flush, sometimes it's, you've got a few inches sticking up. It just depends on what kind of fan or what kind of motor you're working with. But either way, that shaft, take some sandpaper, emery cloth, whatever you've got, whatever you have to do, make that thing look cleaner than it did when it was brand new. Make sure it is shiny. And I am telling you this from experience. Don't skip on the cleaning and sanding part of it. Sand that down until it shines so there are no burrs, no imperfections, anything like that, and then oil the hell out of it. I use Zoom Spout oil for just about everything. I mean, it's a really good all-purpose oil, but once you get that clean and sanded down so it's shiny, just soak that thing down all the sides of the shaft and the end of it. I was almost going to do the motion there on that shaft, and I'm not going to do that because that seems highly inappropriate, and I would, I'm that kind of minded person, so I would probably make some jokes about that. But either way, make sure the shaft is lubed up all the way around, because there is always time for proper lubrication. But make sure that thing's clean and lubed down. And then as far as your fan blade itself, you've got a little set screw on there. That thing has to come out in order to get our wheel hub puller on there. But first, what I do is take my handy dandy Sharpie. Let's see if I can do this backwards in the camera. I can't. Wherever that set screw is at, put a little mark on there, and I'll show you why later, or here in a minute. But put that on there, and then that set screw needs to come out all the way. Obviously, this one was pre-loosened for me and everything like that. Normally, you're going to have to take that out. It does have a little square. Get it to focus somehow. Hello. There we go. Get it to focus, that little square nut on there. You can use a crescent wrench, works really well. You just take that off there. You can get a little wrench that's made for these. Crescent wrench will do you just fine. But either way, get that off of there. So now you've just got your shaft sticking out. Lost my shaft there for a minute. Get a shaft sticking out of your fan blade. So now we're going to use wheel hub puller. This one that I use, this is the same style that I have always used. This is the ultimate hub puller is what they call it. Very simple device, just like some of my other how-to videos. It's one of those things that even pulling a wheel is a simple process, but if you've never done it before, it can be a little challenging sometimes. So that's why we're doing these. But what this is wheel hub puller. The bottom part here, you can see in there is a basically a point, somewhat of a point on the end of that rod there. That threaded rod goes all the way down through there. So when you hold this silver part tight and you run this down, it will push that rod through there. If we lock this down on the hub, it'll push that shaft right out of that hub. So that's why they call it a wheel hub puller. So before you get started, back that thing out so you've got enough, because that shaft will have to go all the way up inside there if it's a long shaft for some reason. There's some of them out there, like I said, you may have a couple inches sticking up. You may just have enough. Shafts come in all different sizes, I keep using the word shaft. I can't stop from making jokes about it. Either way, that wheel hub puller, slide down on top of there. You want to back that out all the way. You want to make sure you back out the little tightening bolts that are on the side there. And then you just slide that down over the top of that. So you're sitting on it like that. Now the whole point of that little black mark that we put on there, right there, is so when we know that's where that hole is. If we have to reuse this blade, and if you were to put that there and tighten that set screw down inside that hole, you will destroy the threads on that hole. And this blade, unless you've got a tap and die with you, or a die set where you can, or a tap where you can retap those threads, you are going to have a bad day. Don't ask me how I know. So that's why I always put the little Sharpie mark on there. That way I know where it's at. So we set it on there. We make sure that our tightening bolts are away from that mark, so there is no way that we're going to get in there. This thing does have 3 tightening bolts right there. 7/16" wrench works on them. When you buy these things new, it does come with a funny shaped little Allen key that will fit in the end of that there. If I can get that to focus, maybe. That will fit in the end of there, so you can tighten it down. But either way, when you get that down on the hub, tighten that down damn tight, because you don't want that thing to slip. If it starts slipping and pulling, if it is one that's been on there for a long time, eventually you'll put enough pressure on it and it will start pulling that up, and you have the potential of messing up that hub, or you're just going to cuss a lot because you're going to have to like start all over and redo it. So once you tighten those down and you get that solid on that hub, you can do it a couple of different ways. A lot of times I'll just use some crescent wrenches. I love a crescent wrench. It's nice and simple and easy. Or you can use a socket wrench, or you can use an impact. Now, I don't know if I recommend that or not, because as you can tell, this one is fairly shiny. This one is fairly new. My last one I had for 20 some years, the exact same puller. They have not changed design or anything. The ultimate puller has stayed the same. I had the same one, and I got to where I started using an impact on it, because I thought, man, this is cool. It's fast, it's easy, and everything else. Until one day I did that, and it ripped all the threads out of here because I had a really tight fan blade. So I don't think these are probably rated for an impact. But so I don't know if I would recommend it or not. I have used one. It's at your discretion. The last one I had, I used it a bunch of times on it, and it did fail, but it was also 20 some years old. So it may have eventually just pulled the threads out. While we're on that topic, I would recommend putting a few drops of oil. You know, whenever you're oiling up that shaft and everything else, you know, you've already got the oil out. Put a couple drops on those threads. It'll help from pulling those threads if you do have a really tight one. Because you pull the threads on that, you're pretty much shot, and you're, you know, 60, 75 bucks down the drain, because you're going to go buy a new puller. They're relatively inexpensive for what they are. They're well worth the investment, trust me. But you know, if you take care of it, it'll last forever. So either way, once you get that on there, you've got that tightened down, you have to hold the base or the silver part still. So you can use a crescent wrench. Now you can pick your size of crescent wrench. I've just got a couple of little wrenches in here with me today, but that has notches on it like that. So that wrench will sit on there. That way we can hold it still. Now, it's going to be really hard for me to hold it in front of the camera and try to use 2 wrenches, but normally you'd have your hand on here to hold the silver part still, and then on the top you can use a crescent wrench, or you can use a socket wrench, whatever you like. A socket actually works really well because then you can ratchet it, but then you start turning this thing with your other wrench, and you just turn it clockwise. That way it pushes that rod straight down, and eventually you will start coming out the bottom, and that center stem there will come all the way down through that hub and push the shaft completely out of it. So at that point you can, you know, if the motor's sitting still on the ground or on a bench or whatever, you keep doing that, this thing will push itself up off of it, and the fan blade will come off. Or you can have it where it's braced up a little bit. You have to be very careful with fan blades, because especially modern ones are extremely flimsy. And you don't want to let the weight of the motor hang on them, because you can bend them and all that kind of stuff, and then you're out of balance, then you're SOL anyway. So either way, be careful with what you're doing. Don't tear up the blade. I have seen a lot of guys tear fan blades up. I've done it myself. Don't do it. So just be careful with them. But once that pops off there, then you can just loosen these up off the fan blade. It comes off, put a new motor in, put the fan blade back on, or maybe you're replacing the fan blade, whatever it is. You know, it's not a real complicated kind of thing. You just need a couple wrenches. You need your ultimate puller, and you can go to town. You can take any fan blade you want off of there. So these do great. You can actually use them on blower wheels as well, as if you're careful with them. Like I said, when these are new, they do come with like a fancy looking Allen wrench to be able to tighten those down. As well as it's got some hook things that go on here that you can put underneath the blade to help it pull up. I can't say I've ever actually used those. But it looks like it's something that could be nice. Maybe some of you out there do use those, or maybe you can try, whatever. They come with it. Like I said, I've just never used them. I've never seen the need, but that's just me. But proper lubrication for absolutely everything. And clean it up. Do not shortcut on cleaning that shaft up. Otherwise, you're going to regret it. Trust me. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, just let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Hit the like button if you liked the video and share it with a friend because it's just the right thing to do. Other than that, thank you and God bless.